Hey guys, welcome back to Trekyards. I'm Captain Foley.
I am Commander Cockins.
He is, and so am I. I mean, he is, but I'm Captain Foley. Anyway, we've recently taken a look at the Sarcophagus ship from the Star Trek Discovery. Kind of broke down, our feelings on it and some details that you might not have seen. But today's topic is, how big is it really? I mean, really.
And then Eaglemoss just released their scale charts, so we're able to now know the exact feet and meterage. So these are now the done. This. Now we can finally report on it. And like you said, we've seen scale charts that I've done previously, but this is compared to the wider Trek world, because this ship is apparently a prime timeline Star Trek canon ship, and as such it needs to fit in with other prime timeline canon ships. So this is obviously the ship. Let's compare it straight away with ships from roughly the same era. Or at least a few years earlier. A few years earlier, the Constitution class existed in the Cage, 2 or 3 years earlier, and the D7s, which we know appear a couple of years after this, at the very least. So that's it compared to the other prime timeline canon ships of the era.
And that's just silly. But we've been saying that all along. Again, as we've said before, if this is an ancient ship, and it is called the Sarcophagus ship, or the ship of the dead, where they have the bodies on the hull, for some reason, we, in our first episode about this ship, well, not our first one, but our most detailed one, I guess, we speculated that it could be like a colony ship or some kind of transport ship, and that's why it's, again, called a sarcophagus ship, because it could be rooms full of stasis pods that look like sarcophagus to move like lots of Klingons, and that works for me. I think that's fine. But as for a ship of the time, when you compare it to that D7 down there, which is supposed to be the most formidable thing in the TOS era as far as Klingon ships go, on screen anyway, canon, it's pretty ridiculous. It's the best way to put it.
Yeah, and you imagine, the Federation always kept one step ahead in terms of size of ship. At least they're the primary heavy cruisers. They always were one step ahead. And so you would think if they knew the ship was hanging around, they might say, maybe if they bring that into the fight, we should try and, as we saw in Discovery, they brought this thing to the fight. It was in the Battle of the Binary Star. It didn't do too much. It shot the Shinjo, then the rest of the fleet did stuff, but we were outnumbered, and then it just got destroyed very quickly by some photons. So Discovery itself, after it did all the jumping, so it wasn't particularly formidable. But and its big gun at the front is just a torpedo launcher, torpedo launcher.
Yeah, this thing almost seems like the foil for something like the Vengeance from Into Darkness, size-wise. Kind of the Klingon equivalent of that. Should that be the scale, you know what I mean?
I just think you cannot classify it as a warship or an attack ship or even a new ship. For me, it really rings as either a burial ship, like we said before, where you go to the ship to bury, and it has to be big because it's old, and they knew they were going to bury all their greatest leaders here. If they want to be, that's a cool thing. So build it. Now we built Space Dock 1, Earth Space Dock, so you can build huge things. And the Klingon Empire is much older than us, so I mean it's weird, but it's fine. And it being so ceremonial, rather, we said in the last episode, it's not form follows function. It's not necessarily aesthetically good. It doesn't have design elements that would be starshipy. Its engines aren't per se clear. Its facades and warp coil pieces are the same, but ships of Klingons still use warp line of sight grills for the most part, so it should have that really. It doesn't have the conventional things, so it's not designed to be a starship. I think it's designed to be a honorable ceremonial piece. So hence the space station aesthetic even more. It's like this is a handcrafted, generational ship that Kuvma he was the house of the caretakers, the house of the burialists, or was something, or that he nicked or went to possession over hundreds of years. There's not really a ship of the fleet.
Yeah, and I mean it even speaks to its older, ancient design, just being the size it is, the older tech. Like, look at those engines, or it could just be much more bulky equipment in the front and the back there to get that kind of movement, and they equal that out, that old bulky tech, by making it very ornate and cathedral-like, with all the windows and stuff, to kind of balance things out. I guess, I don't know. I can just see it being more ancient because of the size.
Yeah, I love that. That was their first Warp 3 engine.
Yeah, exactly.
230 years ago, and it's like, Earth was much more focused on slim form factor. But there's like 18 fusion reactors in each. Like each of these engine modules has a warp reactor in to power each module because they're so inefficient. That'd be kind of fun. Yeah. But anyway, this whole thing about how big is it really? So let's compare it to something big, something formidable, something Borg Cube.
Wow.
Versus a Borg Cube. The 3 kilometer, not Voyager one, this is only 1 kilometer in the VFX canon. So there you go, compared to a Borg Cube, which was huge in every part of every timeline.
Wow. That's impressive. That's impressive for the Klingons to be building that. Very cool. I don't know.
We just like showing images that speak for themselves. Because most people can't visualize these sorts of images, but we can here at Trekyards. And the side view, yep.
Well, the side view bugs me so much. Like we talked about in the last one, it's so symmetrical. Like if you cut it down the middle, and no ships are like that really from the profile, except for the Borg Cube, which.
Yeah, we're going to compare some other side views of Klingon ships, and it's true. It's true. Well, they found who knows when they encountered the Borg, they took a lesson from the Borg, sure. But Stuart, let's compare it to other ships of other eras of other things, big ships. And this next picture compares it to, as you can see, first of all, the Klingon Borel bird of prey, very capable ship in the military. The Enterprise D, a large ship that everyone was impressed with of its era. The canon Enterprise Classic, the humongous Pterodex, the biggest ship we'd ever seen at the time, and then obviously the oversized but still huge Discovery and Shinjo, again to their real sizes. So a bit of a spectrum here.
I would say you said Burrell, and I'm like, huh, what? Oh, there it is.
Yeah. And the Sarcophagus ship is the oldest ship here.
They don't make them like they used to, apparently.
Although, as you said, the Enterprise D, much smaller, can go warp, 9. So, they make them better now. And of the Pterodex, much bigger, much better, much more, all of these future ships could just rip this thing apart, couldn't they?
What I find interesting is the Pterodex there, which is one of the largest ships that we've seen in kind of, it's TNG era, and the Romulans kind of surprised everybody with that size. Mm-hmm. And it's like, in the Discovery verse, it's like, oh well, yeah, we were doing that like hundreds of years ago. It's just, it's aggravating, but I like the idea of a colony ship or some kind of transport for this thing, because that works. Size, you want size when you have that kind of thing.
Yep.
So
now it is worth doubling back to, if the entire engine pieces are literally the engines, you've taken out a ton of internal volume. If all of the stained glass stuff is the ceremonial areas where they have the bodies, as we said, rather than having them on the hull, be inside and see the stars, and that's the ceremonial bit. And then only the middle bit and the bridge bit is the active areas of the ship where people actually live, work, whatever. Then you've reduced the internal volume to that of just a big ship, but not like the biggest thing ever. And we saw the bridge crew was pretty limited on the Sarcophagus ship, actually. It only had those 2 lower level people dealing with stuff with their holographic headset, helmet things, and a couple of people on the bridge. So it wasn't as if it was a ship that, I think the way they made it seem the show was super wrong compared to what it was capable of. It could cloak. Good for them. It couldn't maneuver. It had limited weapons. Maybe it has a lot of shielding because it's a big ship, so you need a lot of shielding, therefore a lot of power. But if you pit this against any ship, a real warship, because Discovery was a science cruiser, but it wouldn't be, if you pit this against a Constitution class, a proper one, I think that could win pretty straightforwardly, especially considering, it doesn't have any aft torpedoes as far as we can see. So as soon as you get in the aft firing arc, it's shooting God knows what, but nothing much per se.
I was going to say that's the sad part about it. I mean, you change one thing, it's a snowball effect. It cascades down and just screws everything else up. So,
but that doesn't matter if you're earning money at the time. That's the problem. Money making
That's
scheme
true.
rather than continuity based, narrative driven drama.
let's move to the next picture, which is one of my favorites. This is incorporating quite a few different Klingon designs and also the Discovery era Enterprise for a sense of scale. And I mean, we talked about this in the last episode. The one thing that stands out to me immediately is the similarities between the Sarcophagus ship and the Negvar, design-wise. It's almost like if you overlaid the two, you can see, the shape of the head right away. Boom, and then you follow it back, and you see all the similarities,
Which is lovely. Which is really lovely to see.
Well, absolutely, but did they intend that? Because I don't think they did.
Yeah, they've lost the ability to gain credit for things when most of it's removing things that are canon rather than adding them back in. But I can imagine if this is now forcibly in the canon that Gowron might have said, "Hey, remember that ship from 200 years ago that we all had in our walls as kids? Everyone saw that profile and thought, ooh, I want to get buried there," and it caused death.
It's like the old Lamborghini Countach posters that everybody had on their walls in the 80s, me included.
Yeah, but yeah, clear influence there. I like the idea of Gowron saying, "Hey, this classic ship, let's take our Vorcha, and then give it some influences from this ship to drive a sense of honor, a sense of fear." That's cool, but wouldn't you think that Klingon top of the line warships, the Klingon D7, the Klingon Vorcha, the Klingon Negvar, if you could design and build a ship this huge and dwarf the Federation, because the Klingons like weapons. Build a bigger ship, there's more space for more guns. There's more space for a second warp core to add more guns. I mean, why wouldn't they do that if they could? We always assumed they couldn't, and it wasn't practical. That each iteration was a sense of, well, we're able now to build bigger and make it be just as powerful, and now more powerful because it's bigger. Look at the Negvar to Vorcha. It's a very comparable ship, except now it's exploded in terms of internal volume, which implies power of armor, of shielding, everything. All the weak points have been removed. It's a step up in a different way. And the was a Tinga to Vorcha is very natural. It's like just a blooming of things, but yet the design is now refined, much more simple, in fact, but also more aggressive and more whatever. But it's weird if 100 years ago or thousands of years ago you could build bigger ships, which is why I like the idea of it being an arc ship. That you built it to be the savior of a race. So it was a case of we bloody well build the biggest thing you possibly can, and you wouldn't then build in the ornate details, but that could have been because people were bored over the next 1,000 years. They just went into the hull and just carved in. Just for interest's sake, Stuart, the side view, Sarcophagus is bigger than every one of these ships put together. 200 years of the best ships of their eras, kind of.
Yeah, it's the next thing I was going to say was, we always look at these size comparisons, but it really changes your perspective when you see it from the side. Mm-hmm. And here it dwarfs them like immensely. The internal volume of this ship is insane. Mm-hmm. And
damn small redressed corridor sets though.
Yes, but a huge bridge. Got to admit that.
Super unfunctional.
Right. Yeah, as far as size goes, like we said, if it's an ancient ship, I don't have a problem with a lot of that being mechanical. Just to get propulsion, to get life support, you need the bigger, old, equipment, which we know as technology advances, it gets downsized. I do like the design of Klingon ships from the side. The low slung nacelles always look really cool. And as I mentioned earlier, this thing just is all symmetrical. I mean, I think in the first episode we talked about this. We said it looked like a pen or a sonic screwdriver, which it does, absolutely. And it doesn't work for me. They should have been something different about it. It's like they got lazy and said, okay, well, here's this 3/4 view. What's it look like from the side? All right, well, let's just mirror the image.
Yeah, these things weren't designed from every view. They weren't designed. They were designed for a specific shock sort of angle, and then nothing else particularly. You can kind of tell. Doesn't necessarily diminish them, and obviously they didn't show this angle on the show because they knew. If you watch the show, they don't show angles on ships because they don't look good. Limitations of ships' designs do come into when you do shots. Whereas like a D7 looks interesting from almost every angle, and Vorcha are quite similar, and certainly the Enterprise is in the better prey, certainly. But again, just interesting for interest's sakes, guys. The next picture is the last picture. The first picture is the sarcophagus ship from its best and most interesting view. This one certainly pops with detail, pops with colour, pops with Discovery Klingon-ness, and I'm eager to see, as we know, they are rebooting their own Klingons from season 1, season 2. The makeup guy said it's getting a brand new look. What that means, if they really mean brand new, or rebooting, or altering, or canonizing, who knows? That's exciting. So maybe their ships will get another tweak as well, and I'm excited for that. Certainly, this I think is stuck a bit more in the canon as it is now blowed up. Or the explosions.
Blow it up. And if you want to help us blow up, you can do so by clicking the like button and sharing this video. See what I did there?
Yes, your donations will power a fusion charge that will make this channel explode, but in a good way, like explode in positivity and fun
and viewership and subscribers, and just help us. And if you want to help us, you can do so. You can head on over to Patreon/Trekyards. There's a link in the description below. Help us on a monthly basis. That's always beneficial. Or head over to Trekyards.com. Click the donate button. There's a one-time donation you can do there, or whatever you feel like. Or we do lives now. We do lives midweek and on the weekends, and there's super chats on YouTube, and those really are beneficial because if you want to interact with us, you can do so, and you can also donate and help the show at the same time, either large donations or small. But it all helps out, and we get to talk to you guys and answer your questions, address your comments, and it's really fun. And so join us for the lives.
All amazing ways and all ways of keeping this channel and this content coming to you. As you can see, lots of cool new things for you all. But the free way, obviously, is just subscribing to this channel, click that bell notification, sharing videos that you like, joining our Facebook page. A lot of great discussions, literally dozens a day. It's kind of absurd in a good way. And just telling your friends about Trekyards, because if they like a ship, we've done it. If they want to see a scale chart, we've done it. If they want to see new renders, we've pretty much got it. All here on Trekyards. So until that next time, which you will be back, I'm sure. I am Commander Kongs.
And I'm Captain Foley. And we'll see you then.